know if it's sad news, maybe just I don't know, something that we're not thrilled to hear, which is that K-pop super band BTS announced this past week that they're taking a little bit of a break. They're going on a little hiatus. Apparently, it was a very emotional um, like announcement. I didn't
Yes,
watch it, but I think you
I
did.
did. Yep.
But the group was like having dinner, from what I read, and like kind of like had this conversation about what this means for them. And apparently a couple members got really teary eyed and
Oh
choked
yeah.
up. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. But I guess first of all, like, is this like the end of BTS in your mind?
No, definitely not the end. And it's kind of been funny to see the way certain outlets have discussed this. Uh, the translations in the video of that dinner, which was a long video, use the word hiatus. The next thing you know, people are talking about like, is the group disbanded? Blah blah blah, right? And like many of the members have since went online to clarify their feelings and their position and everything. But I mean, the way it started was Suga just kind of off the cuff, like 40 minutes into this video. It's just like, so should we talk about how we're gonna not be like together for a little bit? Or I forget exactly how he said it. It just kind of ripped into it, And uh, the way they all outlined it in their own ways, they all took time to speak about solo, that they needed and really wanted this time apart for their own personal growth, and that this is a necessary step for BTS to continue long term. So they all had a pretty thoughtful view of it in terms of getting to BTS Chapter 2, as they said. And, uh, a lot of, I think, K pop super fans, people that have been through this before, weren't necessarily surprised this news came up. I think the pandemic probably slowed this down from even happening. On the other hand, given how successful they've been, particularly in the West, particularly in the United States, very recently, it is probably coming at an inopportune time for HYBE, for their label, for those investors in that label who saw the stock drop tremendously. So the timing, I think, in the overall span of BTS, the group, makes a lot of sense. They formed in 2013. That first album came out in 2014. We first talked about them in 2018. It's a long time
Mhm.
ago.
Yep.
So it sounds like this is, uh, it's a probably a good call, and it's not like they're going to go away because we're going to hear all kinds of solo music. By the sound of it, J Hope was already announced before this as a headliner at Lollapalooza. He has some solo work out already. I imagine he perhaps is the first person out of the gate with more solo music from here on out. We'll see. But yeah, definitely shocking, or at least big news for sure, that BTS at the peak of their powers is taking a break from group activities for some time.
Yeah, when I first started, my first thought was, oh, I don't know if they're gonna be done forever. I mean, I'm sure we'll get them back in some way, but it feels like a hiatus like this at this point in their run as a group feels like they're not going to come back and ever be completely the same. Obviously, they're going to
Yeah.
grow. They're going to be making solo work. Who knows if maybe every member will return in some sense? I don't know how that will work. I know that there was a lot of stock implications to this. The Korean entertainment, whatever their production group, lost a lot of money from this. Is that
Yeah.
I mean, do you have those numbers offhand? Or
I know it went down like 25%, the HYB
jeez,
stock, which is the name of their label. It used to be called Big Hit. And I mean, there's a whole kind of separate conversation about like whether this label that is getting the majority of their money from one group should really be a public thing on stock exchange, whatever. Yeah, I mean that happened, but I think we'll see the recovery too, because J Hope and RM and Suga, their past solo work has been top 40 in the U.S. Like
mhm.
we're going to see success from these guys on the solo stage. I have no doubt. And yeah, is it going to be BTS level success? Unlikely. But on the other hand, like Lisa, her solo shit with Blackpink, those two songs both did numbers and became TikTok smashes. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that these guys can become solo stars as well, because I think they're uh, to their fans, I think they would like to see that, and they're all unique enough to warrant that. So now it's just a matter of seeing if that actually happens. But yeah, I mean the label. they had to. I mean, well, they of course knew this was coming, but yeah, I think the stock stuff is just kind of a it's a temporary hiccup. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, and in the grand scheme of things, why don't you run the real numbers that matter, which I think is how much money BTS printed in the past year performing. We obviously know how big their songs have been lately, and then their album sales, but like they grossed like $30 million doing 4 shows in LA at the end of 2021. And then they did another 4 shows in Las Vegas this past April, and they made another 30 million plus dollars. Uh, that was the biggest tour in April with only 4 shows. Like, and I think that's another thing. It's like, man, they're like they have the Western audience in the palm of their hand right now. 200,000 tickets sold at 4 shows. It's crazy, right? Taking a break. So it seems like they really need this break. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more of the solo music. But as you said, I think they'll definitely come back in a different form than they. I mean, they're already several forms away from how they debuted. For anyone who's like hardcore into the band, you definitely know that from a Sonic thing. But like, Jin's 29, Jin's 30 at the end of the year. He has to go to do the military service. They already got their extension to 30. So I feel like that's where Jin's headed. But Jung Hook's the youngest one. He's only 24. He's definitely not doing the military service anytime soon. He was, out working with Charlie Puth. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like they're all going to go in all kinds of directions right now.
Definitely going to be interesting to see what comes out of this hiatus. I'm just thinking about that reunion tour in I don't know, a couple of, like 2 or 3 years. That's going to be insane money, dude. Just
Yeah.
insane. So,
Oh yeah.
uh, definitely going to be talking more as we find out what's next for all these BTS boys. Dave, any last thoughts? Are you ready to move on?
Well, I think the other note too is BTS was roughly 30% of all K-pop sales and streams in the US in 2021, the biggest share by far. I'm curious to see who fills that void. Obviously, the BTS guy solo will fill that, but we know Blackpink's coming back this year. And then there's lots of other groups of various stature that are targeting the West, like aespa and Twice and things like that. So I'm curious to see what else happens. K-pop as a whole, Korean entertainment as a whole is certainly not going to shrink in the West despite BTS's temporary absence. So something to watch.